Here's what I do when I'm feeling down.
I sometimes feel like people end up feeling that if they don't wake up in the morning ready to get after it means that they are not going to be able to get after it that day. But actually, it seems to me, in my personal experience, that it is possible to
Do the thing you're scared shitless of.
even if you don't feel like it in any given moment or on any given day. Because a lot of the days, it's just not there intrinsically, but there's still things that you know you want to do.
So much to do. So little time to do it.
This is something I've struggled with in the past and still struggle with sometimes. And there's a tool that has helped me be more consistent when I don't feel as motivated to do so, when I just wake up. And some days it's nice, you wake up and you feel like doing it. But on other days, having little tips and stuff helps. So I'm going to talk about one of those tips. TLDR. The idea is that action sometimes motivates motivation. Sometimes you do the action first and then you feel more motivated, and then that can inspire further action. Action, motivation, action, motivation, action, motivation, action. The idea is that action comes before motivation. This idea shows up in all sorts of places, but I recently bumped into it from one of the classic psychotherapy self-help books. And the book is called Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy. This is a technique from within behavioral activation. But it's not novel, right? This is one of those instances where the psychology literature just reflects common sense to some extent.
Well, I already knew.
But it's nice to have it backed up by evidence so that you know that pretty reliably this seems to help people when they're struggling with motivation. And even with that said, it still feels kind of counterintuitive. It feels like the motivation should inspire the action, and you do things upstream to help with that motivation, like eating and sleeping, giving you the inputs to be a human being who feels intrinsically motivated. Not everybody feels intrinsically motivated, and you are certainly a human being even when you don't. But you know what I mean, right? There's things that you can do upstream that help your motivation. Again, topics for other videos. And it kind of feels sometimes like that should be the way it works. You do the things that make you motivated, and so you can take action. And yes, sometimes it works that way, but other times the action, doing the behavior, doing the thing, motivates the motivation. This might sound like an obvious point, and it is an obvious point, but I find it helpful to remind myself sometimes that sometimes relying upon motivation to lead to the action is not going to work in this moment, and I have to just take the action to begin with, and then that'll hopefully inspire some more motivation for the next step. And again, it's one of those ideas you've heard about before. I'd heard about it before in various different forms that are similar to this, but in part I'm bringing it up, and I decided to make a video about it because the more I interact with these type of ideas that are on the bridge between good, well-supported science and common sense, and ideas that aren't, but ideas that you end up hearing about a lot. Sometimes these things, I find, I just need to hear them over and over in several different forms. And then finally, where I'm at some point, and what the idea is, they interact in a way that goes like this instead of like this, and then it actually clicks for me. And so it did for me recently, and I hope maybe this helps somebody else have it click for them. Just as a little coda on this, an example of the way that I end up actually using it day to day, there's a specific implementation of it that Andrew Huberman has talked about in the past that really helps get past resistance, as Stephen Pressfield would call it. What he suggests, and what I've done in the past successfully at times, is just show up for the first 10 minutes of whatever you're planning to do. Say it's an hour deep work session. Show up for the first 10 minutes knowing that it's going to feel bad and that you will probably just have to work through that feeling badness and accept that feeling badness and hope that after you kind of get into the flow of the thing, that'll fade away and it'll become a lot easier. And so that's a good example, I think, of this thing where you take action, you do those first 10 minutes, and then it kind of leads to more of a motivation, and then you can keep going past that, and you're not having to kind of grit your teeth and force yourself to do it anymore to begin with. So if this idea appeals to you and it's not something you're already doing regularly, you might try this specific version of it where you have a task, say you're going to work for an hour on something, you're feeling, I don't really want to do it. Just for the first 10 minutes, decide that you're going to show up and do it anyways. Take that action, and hope that it makes the rest of it go well. And some days, the work days are just a series of having to do that for each hour of the workday that you're planning to do. Luckily, at least in my experience, most of the time that isn't the case. Regardless of where I'm at that day and how hard everything is, it gets a little bit easier as I go through the day, though context shifting can throw a wrench in all of that. I certainly don't manage to do this all the time, but when I do is when I get more work done. And isn't that the point of life? No, it's not the point of life just to get work done. But there is a part of life that is about getting work done. And this is helpful for that. Thank you for watching this video. I apologize if I have repeated myself a little bit too much. I will try to cut that down in the editing and make it nice and like just exactly what you want. But we'll see what happens. But thanks again for watching. Like the video if you liked it. Do subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this and me kind of look at ways that psychology and technology connect, or just talk about psychology, or maybe occasionally just talk about some technology. Oh, and do check out Feeling Good, the New Mood Therapy. Good book in general, and it's been around long enough that you could probably find it at a used bookstore too, or thrift store. Yeah. Bye.